Alrighty, let's figure this out. Sketch 1 period. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say 2 pi over 12 times x minus 2 equals 0, because cosine normally starts at 0. So that's going to be 0 at x equals 2. And then I'm going to have 2 pi over 12 x minus 2 equals 2 pi, because cosine normally ends at 2 pi. So I could distribute that 2 pi over 12, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide both sides by 2 pi to get rid of that. So I'll have 1 over here. And I'm going to multiply by 12. So I'll have x minus 2 equals 12. So x equals 14. So I'm going to start at 2, and I'm going to end at 14. Start, end. So now I'm going to start here and end at 14, which I can't fit. Great. But that's not that important. I don't really care. Okay. Now, the midline is going to be at 2. So I'm going to draw that in, because that's at plus 2. And the amplitude is 3, but I have a negative in front. So that means at 2, I'm going to start 3 below the midline. 1, 2, 3. The scale's a little funky, so be careful. So that's going to be start at 2, negative 1. And I'm going to end at 14, negative 1. In between those 2 and 14, so that's 16, 8 is 8. And at 8, I'm going to be 3 up. 1, 2, 3 up. And then in between those, so in between 2 and 8, so that's 10, so that's 5, I'm going to be at the midline. And in between 14 and 8, 22, 11, I'm going to be at the midline. So that's what my cosine curve is going to look like. So my midline is at 2. My amplitude is 3, but since I'm negative, I start below. My period is that 12 we got there. And then my shift is 2 to the right. 2 equations for that graph. All right, I'm going to do cosine first. I see that the period is 3. I see the shift, so I'm going to do cosine. The shift is, I can call it 0.75 to the right. The midline appears to be 0. Let's see. I'm sorry, 11. I don't want to say it. So that's 20. That's 22 and 11. Yeah. So plus 11 is your midline. The amplitude, it looks like I'm going up and down 4. And then for a period of 3, I got to just write it as 2 pi over 3. The sine is like the exact same thing. Sine, that's going to stay the same. I'm going to say plus 11 and the 4, and that stays the same. But let's suppose I just start here. So that means I end here. Oh, so I don't have any shift. So I just put an x there. Did it. Now on this one I got cotangent. So cotangent is cosine over sine. So I'm going to do cosine. So cosine, we start at at 0. So 2 theta minus pi over 3 is 0. So I solve for theta. I add the pi over 3, and then I divide by 2. So that's going to be pi over 6. So that's where we start. And then 2 theta minus pi over 3 equals 2 pi. Wait, I don't want to write 2 pi. I want to write 6 pi over 3. So that's going to be 7 pi over 3. Divide that by 2, and it's 7 pi over 6. That's where we end. So for the cosine, we're going to start and end there. And the midline is going to be at negative 1. So let's go ahead and draw that in. Negative 1. And the amplitude is negative 2. So I start at pi over 6. So I'll call that right here, pi over 6. And it's going to be 2 below. And I'm going to end at 7 pi over 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pi over 6. And I'm at negative 3 again. Negative 3, yeah. And then in the middle, so 1 and 7, the middle of 1 and 7 is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go up 3, up 2, 1, 2. And then I'm going to go halfway and halfway. Did I miss? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I missed on that one. 1, 2. My halfways I missed, because I missed here. Okay, so this goes here, and then halfway and halfway. You can identify those, that would be good. That's the cosine. The sine is very similar, except it's going to start here and end here, and in the middle be here, and then it's going to go up and down. But I don't care about that. I only care where the sine is 0, because wherever the sine is 0, the cotangent will have asymptotes. And that means I have asymptote wherever the sine is 0, because cosine over sine. Asymptote and asymptote. And then the cosine's going to do, cotangent is going to do this sort of thing. And you should identify this point here and this point here. I think I didn't stretch it out enough. I think I got to go vertically. But I'll let you figure that part out because I don't want to. All right, this one says secant. That sounded mean. Secant, that's friends with cosine. So 3 theta minus pi equals 0. So that's going to be theta is pi. So that's where we start. And then 3 theta minus pi is 2 pi. So that's going to be divided by 3, and I'll have theta minus, write that down for them, pi is 2 pi over 3. So think of that as 3 pi over 3. So that's going to be 5 pi over 3. So that's where we end. So we're going to start at pi and end at 5 pi over 3. And so I'm going to go, how do I want to do this? I'm just going to ignore the grid lines because they're confusing me and I don't want to deal with it. So I'm going to go here. Negative 3 and plus 1. So my graph's going to do this. I'm going to start at pi. I'm going to end at 5 pi over 3. And it was negative 3 and plus 1, right? Negative 3 and plus 1. So plus 1 is my midline. So my midline is going to be up 1. And then it's negative 3, so I'm going to go down from that. So that's down to negative 2. And negative 2. And I'm going to go up 3. So that's going to be at 4. My asymptotes, because this is the secant, my asymptotes are going to be halfway. So I'm going to have asymptotes halfway and halfway. And then I'm going to have a swoopy and a swoopy and a swoopy. To find those asymptotes, so 1 plus, no, sorry, think of this as 3 pi over 3. That's 3 pi over 3. So 3 plus 5 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. So 4 pi over 3 is in the middle. And then you can do the same thing here. So the middle of 3 and 4 is 3 1/2, or 7 halves. So that's going to be 7 pi over 6. And the same idea here. The middle of 4 and 5 is 9 halves, so 9 pi over 6. That's what that graph will look like. All right, I'm going to go back and recap this to make sure we really got it. So we got the secant. Secant is with cosine. So I took the 3 theta minus pi, set that equal to 0 to figure out the x value we start at, and set it equal to 2 pi to figure out the x value we end at. So that was 5 pi over 3. So I start at pi, which I call 3 pi over 3 here, and end at 5 pi over 3, which is here. If I'm thinking cosine, negative 3 cosine starts 3 below your 1, which is at negative 2, ends the same place, and then halfway in between goes 3 above my 1, which is 4. Then halfway in between 3 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3, you found where your cosine curve would hit the midline. Now this is the secant, so that's where we have the vertical asymptotes. And then we have a swoopy down, swoopy up, swoopy down. And that is it.